What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Push to Accelerate. I'm Frick,
And I'm FRaCK.
and we are here with a very special guest, Mike M., who is our
Well, wait,
instructor.
what does the M stand for?
We can't say due to your privacy rights. We need to
Yes.
protect
Oh,
your
I
identity,
didn't
Mike.
sign the full identity disclosure thing. You're right. It's my bad on the paperwork.
Yes, we want to protect your identity, and we also want you to brag about what great students we are because you're our instructor, right?
Yeah. Now that I'm only teaching one class here at GameU, you guys are officially my favorite students. The
Well,
competition is stiff between you and nobody, but you've managed to eke it out.
Yeah, well, when you have no competition, it's pretty easy to win. I mean,
I do have a little bit of a gripe though. It seems as though you like Anthony a little bit more than you like me, but
well,
That's true.
I'm a lot smarter. Obviously.
and by the way, I'm Nicholas. That's Anthony. Freaking friend. Just to get that clear. Mike, why don't you tell
And
us
even
about
though he tried to clear that up, Nicholas and Anthony have nothing to do with frickin' FRaCK, really. The reason is because we're identical twins, not because our names are Nicholas and Anthony.
Wow. I never would have guessed.
Sorry.
Thank you.
It's just a sibling rivalry.
Thank
Okay,
you
go
for
ahead.
that knowledge bomb. And we're gonna let's ask Mike if you could tell us a little bit about how you got into the company Game U and how you got started and what your experiences have been working for Game U and impacting the lives of amazing students like Frick and Frack.
That was, I'll be honest, a lot of questions to put inside one question. But I am a self-taught game developer. I taught myself coding when I was in high school. I started kind of making games, and it went well for a little while. But then, sort of, the games industry started to change, and the way that I did things wasn't really a viable way to make money. So I knew I needed to get like a real job. And I was applying to like studios and stuff, trying to like get a job making games. And without a college degree, it was just kind of hard for people to take me seriously. But Game U, they were like really excited to have me like right away. They were interested in the games that I had made, and they took me in and basically gave me my first real opportunity that I didn't just like make for myself. And
Right.
it's been fun.
And you started the same day that we started. You were
Yeah, you guys were my first class. Like not only my first day, but my very first class.
so we're in a way, as it is right now, his first and his last.
Yeah. So for some reason I stuck around after that first class and worked here for 2 years now.
Well, you've been very, very beneficial to us learning game design for sure. And I know Anthony, especially Anthony, do you want to talk about your 3D modeling and how Mike has helped you and motivated you into continuing
And
to learn
inspired you
and inspired you and
Well,
just
I
made
mean,
you
as
happy?
as your muse.
I think I mostly inspired Mike as far as 3D modeling.
That's true.
No, it's not true. We just actually picked it up, more at the same time. It was actually pretty funny. I mean, Mike's always known how to do it and he's been good at it, but he's always been I would say you would call yourself a programmer more so, correct?
Definitely.
So, he writes code like it's nobody's business, like, like he's writing the alphabet or, 1 to 100 or something like that. It just his fingers don't stop. But as far as
That's what they all
3D
say.
modeling, he taught me a lot, and he helps me through stuff, and it's definitely a viable career path. Especially for freelance work, it's good to know how to 3D model because you can help with architecture or product design, prototypes, all different stuff outside of the game industry as well, and even the animated movie industry and outside of that as well. So it opens up a lot of stuff, especially now, in this day and age with all the technology. Everybody's looking for animation and 3D. So
Yeah,
And
it's
I
actually.
definitely, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things about working at Game U has been how it's forced me to sort of fill gaps in my skill set. Like you said, I didn't
Yeah.
really do much 3D modeling before your class, and then we kind of went through it together. And like Game U had some curriculum already made for like first couple Blender lessons, and
Yeah.
we literally just going through it together, like making spoons and stuff. And then like I would learn between classes and take what I learned back to you guys. It really
Yeah.
helped me sort of expand and become a much more well-rounded game developer. Even like when you guys were interested in like different game engines that I didn't know, like when you guys wanted to learn Unreal for God knows why, it sort of forced me
Hey,
to learn that a little bit more.
we can't knock Unreal, I don't think, publicly, but
I think I can.
you can. You can. You have to be professional, I guess, but
And I
I
apologize to our
prefer Unity. I do prefer Unity.
I
I'll say
apologize
that.
to our viewers there for a second. We had a little bit of a hiccup with the lag, the internet. Mike did not create the internet, otherwise it would be flawless, just like all of his instructing.
True.
He is a whiz with code. He tried very hard to get me into it. And still tries from time to time. But I think I'm intimidated by his skills. And I just want to say too that this experience with GameU for FRaCK and I has been truly awesome. I mean, we started, like I said, the first day with Mike, and we forged a friendship, and now we're having some difficulties with lag again. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you. I
You
can't
can hear
see
me.
you, which is
You
a
can't see me
blessing.
well.
We don't know, but yes. Yeah.
The interesting thing is you insult Anthony when you insult me because we're identical twins.
But
But
he looks so different now. I feel like the identical part is kind of a stretch at this point.
yeah, I would agree with that. But Anthony and I are students at GameU, and we are extremely lucky and blessed to be a part of the program. I mean, it's not only something that teaches you, but it's something that's a lot of fun, and you build friendships with your instructor and with the supervisors and everybody involved. You meet a lot of new and cool people, and we talk, and I'm sure we're more happy about it sometimes than Mike is, but we talk to Mike even outside of class.
You really do.
You really do.
Yeah.
It really happens. And it's great. We are really happy to have our instructor on this episode. Mike, why don't you tell us a little bit about your career, maybe some of the games you made, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna do sort of a part 1, part 2 episode with Mike, and this episode is just telling you about what he
With
did, and part 2 will be
Professor Mentor Mike.
Professor, Mentor, Instructor,
Mentor,
Mike M.
Mentor Mike.
Mentor
You
Mike.
can just call me Dr. Mike.
Dr. Mike.
Doctor.
PhD.
Yes, and that's not accurate. That's hashtag fake news. But we are going to hear about his games, and then next episode he is going to show us some of his games and some gameplay and stuff, which is very exciting because he is a very accomplished indie developer. But Mike, without further ado, why don't you tell us about a couple of the games that you've created in your career?
I mean, I've mostly been interested in sort of like old school style first person shooters, like very fast paced games that focus a lot on like movement and like jumping and diving around and shooting monsters. I made Paranautical Activity, which was my first and most successful game, which was a randomly generated first person shooter, kind of like a roguelike like Binding of Isaac or Spelunky, but also like first person shooter like Doom. Then after that, I went on to make ArcShot, which is like my first try at making a multiplayer game, which is basically a similar idea, like a sort of Doom or Quake style shooter, but multiplayer online, so you could like kill your friends in a very child appropriate way.
That's always
And
fun.
then most recently, I made Seasons Beatings, which I probably couldn't have made without the skills I learned at GameU, because I did all the 3D models and stuff myself for the first time, and that was just another first person shooter. That one was a little less gimmicky, like it wasn't multiplayer and wasn't procedurally generated, just like a standard kind of shooter. But it really pushed my skills to the limit because I did like the whole thing. Usually I'd work with an artist to do like the models and stuff, but GameU taught me well, and I didn't need any support staff on that one. It was all me.
Yeah, I mean,
So that's how talented game use instructors are. Not everybody. Not everybody has every single skill set. I'm saying, that's not common. Some of them do, some of them don't. but you learn whatever you're best at, whatever you like. There's so many different aspects of game design and game u, which is one of the things I love. People say, it can do with fashion, it can do with logos, it can do with sound design, creative writing. It doesn't matter. Um, our instructor happened to make a game completely by himself, writing, character design, level design, art, programming, everything, which is intimidating. Um, and that's why I wear a hat every day, because it's intimidating.
No,
Yeah, that's one of
yeah.
the cool things about Game U is that they have so many talented instructors, and even the
Yeah,
instructors who don't know everything, like me, um,
they're
you
geniuses.
have
Yeah,
yeah, you have people who are really good at one thing, and like when they're picking the instructor for a given student, they take that student's interests into account. So like
yeah,
if we have a student who we know is really into drawing, like we'll take them to an instructor who's good at drawing, or if they're into music, we'll take them to an instructor who knows music. And even if their interests change, like with you guys, I like started to learn new skills to teach you different stuff. But
yeah.
sometimes, like if that's not an option, like will just change instructors
You're saying
to
because you
suit a
had
new
a
skill set.
different instructor at this entire time?
Well, it's too late now, but yes.
No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't mistake you for anything, bro. I wouldn't.
No, it's amazing. Like you guys are saying, how there are so many different types of individuals, personalities, skill sets, all in Game U, all working toward a common goal, which is to show people how to make video games, how to hopefully become independent in the gaming industry. That's the coolest thing, and I believe I said it last episode, is that growing up we're always told you're never going to make any money in video games. There's no money in video games, and with Game U, there's an opportunity to learn
Maybe a little bit of
skills.
money in video games.
Yeah, and there's an opportunity again to learn even individual skill sets. Even if you can't make a game from A to Z, you can learn how to do one thing really well and contribute in that way. So it's
Yeah. And it's not even always about necessarily learning how to make a game. Sometimes it's about learning something using games as like the medium. Like we have students of all ability levels. We have some students who are like really young who like might not even know how to use a computer. And so we
Yeah.
like teach them how to use a mouse by like teaching them how to draw on like a terrain in a 3D environment. And then like we're using this exciting cool thing of video games to teach them something that's just really like a basic computer skill. And
Exactly.
then you can just keep building on that until maybe they could make a game or some sort of art or something, or maybe that's all they want. Maybe all they want to do is learn how to use a computer.
and I think that
Yeah,
people
I mean, some people just play Minecraft, and that's great too. You know, nothing
Yeah,
wrong with
Minecraft is cool.
Minecraft all day. I love
And you can
Minecraft.
learn tons of game design concepts in Minecraft. Like
Oh,
there are
absolutely.
Minecraft is great
you
for
can
level
learn
design.
about like level design, like pixel art, all sorts of different things that are actually applicable to like employable skills in something as
Exactly.
simple as Minecraft, and that's something you can start doing when you're like 10, not even.
Yeah.
And I feel like that builds your confidence too. It's like, oh, it's a little intimidating to, open a program like Unreal or Unity, but if you sort of get your feet wet in Minecraft, then you're saying, oh, this is kind of cool. I can make a building, I can make a map, and it kind of piques your interest into game design, and gives you confidence to get into it. And I think a lot of kids, especially, don't
Plus,
even
excuse
realize
me, but I know how to make an Ender Dragon portal.
he does. He learned how to make an Ender Dragon portal in
You can
Minecraft,
learn that
and
at
he's
Game
very
U.
proud of it. Um,
I I did not ask GameU, but if I asked GameU how to do it, I'm sure GameU would have taught me.
I,
GameU would have been happy to give me an instructor
Minecraft
that knows
specific
how to make
instructor.
an Ender portal. Yes.
no, it's
I
it's
believe it.
it's a great company. It's a great program. It's a great specialty school, and we highly recommend it. So yeah, so Mike, so you were kind of alluded to already with the things that you like about Game U. Is there anything else you would like to say about Game U before we wrap up part one and make them wait
Um,
for part two?
I don't know. I really enjoy working at Game U. It's something that I approached sort of just thinking of it as just like I just need a job and this is a job. but I actually found it like really fulfilling, and like it felt good to feel like I was kind of making a difference in some people's lives. Like a lot of my students became my friends. Obviously not you guys, but some other people.
Exactly.
And like it just feels like Game U is something that needs to exist. Like there's so many people who, for whatever reason, they can't go to college due to physical disabilities or behavioral issues or whatever they may have going on, where they just can't do a college environment. But they're like a cool, creative, smart person who could totally learn these game design skills and like have a career in the games industry. And without a company like Game U, like that's just these are people who maybe won't have an opportunity like that ever in their lives, and it's just really enriching people. And I genuinely believe in the mission statement of Game U,
No,
which
that's
is not something I can say about a lot of
Absolutely.
companies.
no, absolutely, and that's great. It's nice to see a soft side of Professor Mike.
Yes,
And
taking
and
off
hear
the Green
generally.
Goblin mask, revealing Mr. Osborne underneath.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
it is. It's a very fulfilling company and school to be part of, and we are excited to get this journey started with Push to Accelerate. So again, this was part
and
one, part two, and FRaCK, go ahead.
and and all those instructors we were talking about will also be part of this podcast in the future.
We're gonna we're
More
going to
more geniuses will
we're
be on.
going to
Well,
be interviewing many instructors, many students, many parents, and giving you a full idea, a
Everyone at
full
Game U
picture.
is a genius, no matter what Professor Mike or Dr. Mike says.
almost everybody.
Almost. All right.
I'm not gonna name names,
Well, we can't because of privacy
We're not
rights.
going to impart
but in part two, I will have a list.
things are getting very juicy here.
All right. So as I usually do when I deal with these two, I need to play babysitter and end this episode. So thank you for joining us. I'm Frick,
I'm FRaCK.
and
He's
Goodbye forever.
this is Mike. And we appreciate you listening to Push to Accelerate. See you on part two with Professor Mike. Take care.